Moving on to stage 3, we'll implement functionality to edit existing bills. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into our bills structure implementation, and I'm going to create a function named update, and that'll be the one we use to edit the bills. So I'll call it update. Again, it's going to need a mutable reference to self because we're changing the data that's within. We're going to need the name of the bill, and we're going to need the new amount that we want to set for the bill. We're going to return a Boolean, just like we did with the remove function, and that's so we know if the name was typed correctly. So if it's correctly typed, it'll be updated and return true, and if the name is not found, it'll just return false. What we're going to do is match on the inner hash map. We'll use the getMut function, and that's going to get a mutable reference to the item that we're trying to find. And if it is found, we'll have a bill. And what we can do is take that bill.amount and set it to the new amount. And then we'll just return true. And if the bill is not found, we'll just return false. And that's all we need to do for the update function. Before moving on, let's take a look at the update function. So we're matching on the inner hash map and using the getMut function on a key that happens to have the name of a bill. So getMut is what you'll use if you want to mutate an item that exists within the hash map. So if it is found, we'll get an option back, and it'll just be the bill. So this here, within these curly braces here, this is a bill structure. So we can have bill, and we can set the amount to whatever we want, and we could also change the name if we wanted to. For this program, I'm just going to change the amount. So we'll set the amount to the new amount that's specified here. And then we'll return true because we need to return true or false for this particular function. If the key was not found and there was nothing in the hash map that matches the name of the bill, then we'll just return false and then we'll be done with this function. In which case, the menu will probably display some kind of error to the user indicating that the bill was not found. Next, we'll need to expose this functionality within the menus. So we'll go to the menu module, and we will name this one update bill. So it needs to be public so it can be accessed. So update bill, we need a mutable reference to bills because we're making changes. And we need the name of the bill so the user knows what to type. So we're just going to copy this code from the viewBills function so they know. And we'll print out a message, enter bill to update. So that way they know what to do. So we're going to get a name. So we'll get the name of the bill. We'll use our getInput function that we've been using in most of the menus so far. If they enter a name, we'll just use it. And if not, we'll return. And then the same thing for the amount. So this will be the amount. And we'll use our getBillAmount function to get a value. And this will be the amount. And then same thing, we'll return if they don't enter anything or if they enter incorrect data. So then we'll try to update it. So if we have the bills.update function, we're going to give it the name and the new amount to update. And if we did find a bill with that name, we're going to print a message that the amount was updated. And if we didn't find a bill with that name, we're going to just print out bill not found. So let's take a look at this function before we move on. We have our update bill function. We print out the information for the user, just print out the bills. That way they know which name to type. We then give them a message to enter the bill to update so they know what to do next. Afterwards, we get the user input, and if they enter anything, we'll just save it into the name variable. We then get the amount using the getBillAmount function we wrote earlier. If we have an amount, we'll save it into the variable. In either one of these cases, if they don't enter anything, we're just going to return out of the function. So that will be the user just exiting the function. Once we get to this point, we have both a name and an amount. So we're just going to call our update function we wrote using the name as the hash map key and the new amount to be saved for that particular bill. If it's successful, we'll print updated. If it fails, we'll just print bill not found. Now we need to integrate this menu in with our main menus. So I'm going to add a new variant. I'll just call it update bill. And that'll be menu option number 4. And we'll display it for the user so they can see. And the last thing we need to do is add the option in the match arm. And now the user should be able to update bills. As usual, I'm going to run cargo check to make sure everything's good. We have no errors, so I'm going to do a cargo run and we'll try updating a bill. So if we do 4 with nothing, it's going to say enter bill to update, and we don't have anything listed, so it doesn't matter. And we have a new amount, and it says bill not found. So that works fine. So let's add a new bill. We'll name it test. We'll put 500. We'll view the bills. We have our one bill right there. We'll then try to update that bill. So the bill name is test, so we'll enter the name, and we'll change it to 100. We received a message indicating that the bill was updated. So if you view our bills, we'll see that our test bill is indeed 100. There's one more thing that I need to do before we finish up on this project, and that is if we run the program and just hit enter, it still terminates with a message. So we're going to go and fix that. So we'll hop back into the code, and we have an expect here. So what we can do is, since the get input returns an option, we can use the question mark operator here. But the question mark operator only works if the containing function also returns an option. Since this is the main function, it doesn't return anything, so we cannot use the question mark operator here. So what I'm going to do is create a new function that returns an option and then just move everything into it. That way I can utilize the question mark operator. So I'll just call my function run program, straightforward. We'll return an option and it'll just be the unit type. Remember that the unit type just means nothing. So we'll copy out all this code from the main function. Take that and we'll place it here. And then from the main function, we'll just call the one that we created right now, and the program will run. Now for get input, instead of using expect, which just terminates the program if the user hits entered, we'll use the question mark operator. The question mark operator will extract the data from the get input function and place it into input. If the user doesn't enter anything, then it'll just return none, and then it'll be fine. Next, when we get down here to none, so if the user is on the selection menu and enters something invalid, instead of just returning out and bailing out of the program, so it'll just exit out of the loop, and then the function will end and the program will exit. And here we'll just return none. If the user does enter valid menus, then when it gets to this point in the program, it'll return back to the main menu and show it. So the user will keep the program running as long as they enter valid menus. Let's give it a go, make sure it works properly. So if we enter a bad menu, we exit. If we enter nothing, we exit. If we enter something proper, like add bill, so we'll add a bill with 5, and we'll view the bills, everything works fine. And when we want to exit, we just hit enter. This should satisfy the stage 3 requirements. So we can now edit existing bills, and we can go back if you change your mind. So you can bail out of the program and you don't have any issues. Let's just double check that we can exit out of all the menus. So if we add a bill, type in the name, and if we don't want to enter amount, we just hit enter with nothing. Same thing with remove. If we just hit enter with nothing, we go back. So we have satisfied all the requirements for stages 1, 2, and 3 of this project. Now that we've covered the basics of Rust and written a small application using the core concepts of the language, we're ready to move on to more advanced topics such as traits, threading, and shared ownership. I'll see you in the next presentation.